Every empire swears its money is safe. Every government claims its promises will last forever. And almost every time, history proves them wrong. From Rome to France, from the Confederacy to modern Lebanon, people have woken up to the same reality. Their savings had lost their value. Their wages had become meaningless, and their futures had been taken from them by systems they once believed were secure. Collapse is not the exception. Collapse is the rule of history. The real question is not whether financial systems collapse. They do. The real question is what you do when they collapse. The illusion of permanence is the most dangerous financial mistake anyone can make. We look at our bank accounts, who see the numbers, and tell ourselves we are safe. But money is not concrete. Money is trust, and trust can disappear overnight. That is why history is both brutal and deeply instructive. Every collapse whispers the same lesson: what truly holds value and what turns to dust in an instant. Look closely and one thing becomes clear. The people who survived these storms were not the ones who believed the most. They were the ones who doubted first. The Byzantine Empire is a perfect example. Long remembered as the eastern half of Rome that managed to survive for 1,000 years after the Western Empire fell, its economic backbone was the gold solidus. It was trusted so completely that merchants from Europe to the Middle East and Asia accepted it without question. For centuries, it functioned like the world's reserve currency. But human nature does not change. Despite knowing how Rome had destroyed its silver denarius by debasing it, Byzantium repeated the same mistake centuries later, this time with gold. The purity of the solidus was reduced, alloys were added, and its value was slowly diluted. At first, no one noticed. Then trust cracked. The coin that once anchored trade became a political illusion. Debasement did not just weaken a currency, it eroded the stability of an entire economy. So who survived? Not those who trusted government promises. The survivors were those who quietly held real gold, bought land, and kept value beyond the reach of the system. This is the first timeless lesson. Governments almost always give in to the temptation to dilute money, and when they do, real value finds somewhere else to go. Not every collapse, however, is caused by deliberate policy. Sometimes life strikes without warning. The Black Death of the 14th century was one such shock. Nearly half of Europe's population died. Cities emptied, villages vanished. Yet the economic story was not just destruction. When people became scarce, labor became valuable. Survivors could demand higher wages. Land and food became abundant relative to the population. Those with liquidity or simply the ability to work suddenly gained leverage. Land that was once unreachable was sold for a fraction of its former price. For survivors, it was a harsh but very real buyer's market. This pattern feels familiar today. During COVID, we saw a modern version of the same process. Supply chains collapsed. Trillions were printed. Those with liquidity accumulated assets, while people living paycheck to paycheck fell behind. History was playing the same tune again. Pandemics redistribute wealth. Always. When it comes to banks, history speaks clearly. There is no such thing as too big to fail. Even medieval Florence, the financial capital of its time, learned this lesson. Powerful banking families like the Bardi and the Peruzzi collapsed when kings stopped repaying their debts. Depositors lost everything. Reputation did not equal safety. The same lesson repeated in the modern world. Lehman Brothers in the 2008, Lebanese banks freezing accounts in 2019. Same story, different stage. Institutions exist to generate profit, not to protect you. When they fall, they take you with them. The American Civil War, the French Revolution, the Asian financial crisis all tell the same story. Paper money fails. Debt is a trap, especially debt in someone else's currency. Those who survive are not the most loyal to the system, but the ones who recognize its fragility early. And this is not ancient history. In Lebanon, people walked into banks and could not access their own money. Lifetimes of savings vanished overnight. The ones who survived were those who did not trust blindly. So what matters when everything falls apart? History does not offer a single magic answer, but it repeats one truth relentlessly: real assets, real skills, and the courage to face reality. Collapse is a tragedy, but it is also a threshold. For the unprepared, it is ruin. For the prepared, it is the beginning of something new. History does not repeat itself exactly, but if you ignore it, the outcome is always the same.